It's time for the Texas Renaissance Festival. Over 400 artisans and craftspeople await you in their beautifully recreated 16th century village. Enjoy a worldwide menu featuring savory dishes, tasty sweets, and a variety of drinks. Revel in the finest musicians, entertainers, and nightly fireworks. Stay the weekend with their Stay and Play Pass. Open weekends and Thanksgiving Friday from October 11th through November 30th. Get tickets and more at texrenfest.com. Family merriment awaits. Huzzah! Located in Houston's Energy Corridor, the Village School is here to serve students from age 2 through 12th grade with private day school and boarding school options. They're ranked as one of the top 20 K-12 private schools in America by Niche.com because their world-class teachers provide exceptional learning experiences with a STEAM American curriculum in an international community. Visit thevillageschool.com to learn more or register for their STEAM Day open house on November 13th. Today on CityCast Houston, we're ending Education Week with a twist. We're bringing on student journalists from two of our prestigious colleges to break down the news from the week. Sarah Knowlton, editor-in-chief at the Rice Thresher, and David Hill, reporter at KTSU from Texas Southern. And this is our final episode of Education Week brought to you by the Village School. All week long, you've heard me talk about the programs and offerings the Village School has, and you can go check them out for their STEAM Day open house on November 13th. You can register at thevillageschool.com. It's Friday, September 26th. I'm Rahil Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. I am so excited to have two student journalists from our area right here on CityCast Houston. Sarah, how are you?
Doing well. How are you, Rahil?
I'm doing great, and I've got David here as well. What's up, David?
What's going on? I'm doing good. Appreciate you for having me.
Man, I'm so excited to have y'all. And if you are new to CityCast Houston, every Friday we are breaking down the big news, overlooked stories, and our moments of joy. So we usually start with the big story. And David, I want to start with yours. What was it?
Yeah, so if you've been paying attention to local news in Houston the last couple of weeks, they've been finding a lot of dead bodies under the Buffalo Bayou Park. And recently, a University of Houston student was just found there. And it's been creating a lot of buzz, especially around the campus of University of Houston and Texas Southern, because both of them are in close proximity. I mean, they're pretty much down the street from one another.
Yeah.
And so if anybody was paying attention last year, there was a guy on the loose who was sexually assaulting women in parking lots in both of those universities. And so just for protection wise, that puts a lot of students on edge, and especially our ladies who are going to class, students and faculty members, it was just creating a lot of buzz and just had me thinking, like, what better ways can we protect each other during these times? And, an unfortunate situation like that happens. And it's unfortunate that something like that has to happen for us or for others to actually make, steps to making things better.
Yeah.
You wish it never had to come to that. But this has been going on for a while now, and it's causing a lot of uncertainty among students. And, it should be highlighted, and I believe something should happen to better enhance that safety.
Have you noticed more safety in the last week or so because of everything that's been happening? On social media, there was so many rumors about a serial killer. Mayor Whitmire actually had to hold a press conference with Houston Police Department Chief Noe Diaz to clear up any rumors like, hey, there's no serial killer. But David, have you noticed more security on campus?
I see a lot more patrolling around areas, just the school police cars and police stations. I see a lot more patrolling. I remember last year when the guy was on the loose who was sexually assaulting women. I remember pretty much the week or day afterwards when I was going to class, I saw a lot more police cars roaming around and just being more on guard. So I think that's good, and just like bringing more attention. But then again, something like this happens and you just wonder, like, okay, was that just on edge and extra patrolling during that time? And then after that kind of came and went, they kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
I think that's something like that should continue. It shouldn't just be like, oh man, when something serious happens, it should always be the case.
Yeah, student safety is so important. Sarah, how about on Rice's campus? Are y'all feeling tense? Is there, increase in security? What's happening there?
Yeah, I honestly haven't noticed that much of a change here on campus. We are kind of removed from the other universities that are here in Houston. We're not super close to UH or to TSU, but we are close to the Bayou. So I know that a lot of people have been paying attention to this news and keeping an eye on it because, of course, it's our peers, it's fellow college students
Hmm.
who are in danger in this situation potentially. And Rice, in my opinion, is a pretty safe campus. I mean, we're kind of here in our bubble, separate from campus. You know, we lock up at night. We have our UPD, our campus police department, and they've been, patrolling as they normally do.
Well, Sarah, that is really good to hear that, y'all still feel safe. And, of course, it was 20-year-old Jade McKissick whose body was found in the Bayou, and she was a student at the University of Houston. And there was no foul play to be found in her death. There were 5 other bodies found in the bayou in a span of about a week, and 14 bodies recovered from local bayous just this year. So it is something that everyone is thinking about and trying to figure out what is happening. And it's been reported that the case of deaths vary from drownings, suicide, homicide, and construction accidents, but there is no serial killer. So we can all take a deep exhale. Sarah, let's get to your big story. What is it?
So, for those who are not familiar, Rice has a residential college system. So, you are assigned to one of our currently 11, soon to be 12, residential colleges. You live in the same building all 4 years if you live on campus. And that is kind of our replacement for Greek life. We don't have frats or sororities here on campus. So, all of your social events, especially when you start, is through your residential college. And they're building a new one. It's under construction currently over close to the medical center. And they just announced that it's going to be Chow College, named after the Chow family, who, of course, are pretty prominent donors here in Houston. And that has been an ongoing story. Of course, people are very interested in this new college. They just recently opened up the opportunity for current students to move out of their residential college that they're in into this new building and be able to create the culture, the traditions, pick the mascot, the colors, everything. And so that's been very exciting for people. And it's also interesting that we just found out the name. This is the first residential college to be named after a person of color. And they're also, they made their money through petrochemical, through that industry, which is very, very Houston.
Yeah, so Houston. Sarah, I wanted to ask you about a story that I saw on the Threshers website that Rice earned the letter grade F when it came to free speech in the 2026 college free speech rankings. How do you feel about that? Because I was shocked to see this letter grade.
Yeah, I feel like, at least in my experience, I've had a very safe, very comfortable time at Rice, being able to share different opinions and discuss those with people. FIRE, the organization that does it, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, they have interesting metrics that they use. I personally, I don't know that I agree with all of them.
Hmm.
And this is a conversation we've been having in our newsroom a lot, actually, since we got the rankings, is where's the line between a university policy that is keeping students safe from bigotry and from hate speech and a university policy that is restricting the ability of students to talk about what they want to talk about and share their opinions. And it really just comes down to the way that these policies are being enforced.
Yeah.
And I think that has been kind of the focus point for a lot of students, especially, is what is being considered to be acceptable speech by the university and what is considered to be disruptive or is considered to be hate speech.
So, Sarah, you're actually in the minority here because there was a survey done by the Student Association that polled 94% of undergraduates, and about 32% of respondents said that they strongly believe they can share their views freely and frequently engage in meaningful campus debates. And then that number actually dropped to 22.7% for seniors. That's not a strong number, huh?
Yeah, I truly think it does depend on the kind of opinions that people are sharing, honestly. Rice is, compared to a lot of college campuses, not necessarily the most politically engaged. And I think that definitely plays a role. And also, Rice is very much more left-leaning among the student body. There are people that are outliers in that situation. And I know a lot of them tend to express the opinion that they don't feel like they can share those opinions necessarily. And I know one of the questions on that survey too, or one of the answer choices, was talking about that some students feel there are topics that are sensitive to talk about. And I found that answer pretty interesting as well, because I do think there are topics that are sensitive to talk about. Not that you shouldn't talk about them, but
Sure.
if we're talking about very hot button issues politically, socially, economically, those are things that are close to people's hearts and affect them personally.
Yeah.
And so I think it is good to be a little bit mindful and a little bit sensitive when you're having those conversations.
Very interesting. How about you, David? How do you feel about free speech on Texas Southern's campus?
Yeah, I would kind of agree with Sarah as far as just, you would think that a lot of the students have a lot of opportunities to, kind of share their opinions and share our views. I know in a lot of our classrooms, a lot of debates are sparked and, it's open for discussion. And a lot of times, the platform isn't as big to just, have those discussions out as much. But I think students are very passionate about letting their opinions and views be made known. But for the most part, everybody kind of agrees with each other. Our campus kind of leans more, at least from what I've seen, it leans more left as well. So everybody's kind of in unison with that. But even the people who aren't, they come out and express their views. And, especially in the classroom, is always for open debate. So I would say that our campus has a lot of opportunity for free speech.
That's awesome to hear, and definitely something that I'm going to be watching a little bit closer as well. I've got one big story that I just want to mention. Houstonian and businessman Andrew White has officially announced his Democratic bid to take on Greg Abbott. He is the son of the late Governor Mark White, and he has officially jumped into the race to challenge Governor Abbott. Abbott is seeking his fourth term, and a lot of people are like, hey, Democrats, who are you going to put up? Who are you going to nominate? And who are the people that want to take on Greg Abbott? And we have a really big name in Andrew White jumping in. And he has run for this position before, but came up 6 percentage points short when he was taking on Lupe Valdez in the Democratic primaries. Valdez, of course, lost to Governor Abbott by more than 13 percentage points in the election. But this is big news and something that we'll be watching out for here in the upcoming months. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about some overlooked stories, including federal cuts and how they're impacting colleges. Fall in love with downtown Houston this season. Grab your blanket and your bingo card for Blanket Bingo, one of the city's favorite fall traditions. Or cozy up under the stars for outdoor movie nights featuring everything from Wicked to Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my personal favorites. Need to shake off those pumpkin spice lattes? Downtown Houston has free fitness in the park, yoga, hip-hop dance, and breathwork at Treadley and Market Square Park to keep you moving. And yes, even your four-legged friends get their own yappy hour paw tea. And mark your calendar, Dia de los Muertos takes over downtown with live music, art, kids activities, and a glowing community ofrenda. Plus a family screening of Coco that will give you all the feels. The weather is nice, so it's time to make this season unforgettable. Plan your downtown adventure with your friends and family at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
All right, y'all, time for overlooked stories. Let's start with you, Sarah. What do you got?
Yeah, so the story that I shared, I've been thinking about recently as, like you said, we're getting closer to our local and state elections, was a story that I wrote during the presidential election about students who were having issues with mail-in ballots. That was a pretty prominent issue here on campus. There were a lot of people who had trouble being able to get their mail-in ballots, send them back in on time, and that created a lot of fear and anxiety on campus, honestly. There was one person that I interviewed, and he was from Pennsylvania. And so, of course, in Pennsylvania, where truly every vote is so crucial in the way that that state is going to swing, he was feeling very stressed out about that because he wasn't sure if his vote was going to be counted in this state that a lot of times can determine the outcome of the election.
Oh, wow. And it's also impacting students who are from the state, right? Because you have to mail in that ballot. You've got to vote in your county. What was that like for students who aren't from Houston or surrounding areas?
Yeah, there are quite a few people who do register to vote in Houston. We have pretty active civic engagement groups here on campus that are registering people to vote whenever there's any kind of election coming up. So a lot of people do register here in Harris County so that they're able to vote more easily. I personally did that myself, and that is a little bit more helpful. They often have the voting center over in the medical center, which is very easy for us to get to. It's right across the street.
Yeah.
And so I know that has been helpful for people. But in other cases, if you're not registered to vote in Harris County, Texas is not the most helpful when it comes to mail-in voting and, voting in a county that you're not currently in. So that is, I think, always a source of anxiety for people.
Yeah.
And, we are just building up to these upcoming local elections and trying to get as many people engaged as possible.
Yeah.
And keeping an eye on that and making sure that people are able to vote, hopefully, wherever they're registered.
I remember a few years ago seeing protests at Prairie View A&M because students there had a lot of issues with trying to vote on that campus as well. Do you feel like when you're talking to students that it's almost like voter suppression?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases it does feel like voter suppression. Texas, is kind of notorious for that, right? It is a struggle for people, especially because we're young voters. A lot of people here are going to be voting for their first time. They're 18 or 19. They haven't had the chance to vote in an election yet. And we're here. A lot of people are not from this area because it is a college campus. We're the younger generation that people are often saying, the younger generations don't go out and vote. We're not as engaged as older generations. And so I think people really want to combat that, but it's just made so much more difficult by the way that Texas runs elections and the way that ballots are mailed and received.
How about on the TSU campus, David? Do you all feel like there's voter suppression going on when it comes to mail-in ballots? It almost feels like the state just doesn't value the voices of the younger Texans.
Yeah, I would have to agree. A lot of the students here, already feel like getting in your vote is a hard or difficult process, which kind of keeps people away, especially young people, from voting, which you kind of have to, persistently fight against. From the TSU students, a lot of them are from out of state as well. And so they're kind of, while they're here, they're just now getting educated on this process, especially last year with the presidential election. TSU opened one of their rec centers, and that was made a lot easier for students to kind of get in and go on campus and put a quick vote in. But overall, I think just outside of that, a lot of students kind of feel the oppression as well. And, a lot of students that I've talked to are always like, man, everybody is preaching that to go vote, go vote. But it doesn't seem like anybody really wants me to vote because of how difficult it is. And so I definitely feel that as well on our side.
Gosh, that sucks to hear, but hopefully, everything gets sorted out, students are heard and their votes are counted. Early election starts in late October.
Yeah.
And of course, election day is on November 4th. So hopefully everything works out. David, what was your overlook story?
Yeah, my Overlook story was on KTSU radio. So anybody who's from the Greater Third Ward, Houston area knows the impact of KTSU radio. It was the first African American FM radio station, and it's been going on for over 50 years now. And it's been the main source in the community for a lot of culture news, African American events and music as well. I grew up in this area, and the gospel radio was prominent in my family, and just having that on as a kid, was very prominent in my life. And they're at risk of losing this station because of the federal funding cuts that have been made. And the federal funding cuts make up 25% of their revenue. And so they're pretty much in danger of, going silent completely. And, I've talked to a lot of students on campus, especially a lot of the seniors. They're very upset about this, and they're currently trying, their hardest while they're in their last year in undergrad to kind of keep things going. But, I do get the sense that a lot of tough decisions are going to be made at the radio station as far as different cuts and who's there and whatnot. Very unfortunate situation, especially just not only the historical factor of the station, but also just the impact it had on the people who are here. And it's one of the many scenarios in America where a lot of these historical factors in African American communities are kind of dwindling away because of certain things. So very unfortunate.
Yeah, I started hearing more messaging on KTSU and one of its substations, The Vibe, which is one of my favorite stations in the city of Houston. It plays old school rap, hip hop, new music, all that. It's on FM 90.9. But I started hearing more messaging about, hey, we need help. You hear this messaging on 88.7, which is Houston Public Media and the NPR affiliate here, right? The Resiliency Fund and all of that. But forgotten in all of these federal cuts and the attack on these programs and stations are the historically Black radio stations and how important they are. So I'm so happy you brought the story. And yeah, I mean, we have to step up and we've got to donate and make sure we're there to keep this important radio station for our community.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, the impact, it started off in the community as well, but people outside of it have gained interest as well. And that long lasting impact, it's just going to be tough if that just goes away because of something like this. So, and, students are very engaged in trying to do that as well. They're out helping with a lot of different scenarios and whatnot and trying to get other students involved.
I think all colleges have been struggling from these budget cuts. I know we have here as well. At least our radio station, which I'm also involved in, KTRU, the KTRU and the Thresher as well are blanket tax organizations. So there's a portion of each student's tuition that go to fund these services that benefit everybody on campus. So that's where our budget comes from. That's where KTRU's budget comes from. And we're lucky to have some very fortunate alumni who are generous with us as well, which is great. But a lot of our research funding is questionable right now, which is very difficult, especially because we're so close to the medical center and a lot of that research could save lives. It's so important for health and for the development of the medical field. And that's up in the air as well. And it's very unfortunate to see crucial research and cornerstones of people's communities that are being threatened in this way.
It's so hard. It is so hard. And, these are the real life consequences when there is an attack on funding from the federal level.
Yeah.
This is so hard to see happening to KTSU and, of course, the research on Rice's campus. I've got a story here, and I don't know, this might be impacting y'all as well as college students, right? I don't know how old y'all are, but there is an update on THC laws. We've seen Governor Abbott going back and forth about how they're going to regulate THC here in the state. But as of right now, there's a new emergency law from the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, TABC, where license holders of TABC licenses cannot sell THC products to people under 21. So on the surface, it's like, yeah, this is a good thing. You know, don't sell it to anybody under 21. But this doesn't impact these smoke shops or vape shops, which have become so common across the city. Y'all's thoughts on this one, David?
Yeah, I think for just for the beverages aspect, I would agree that it's a good thing. And like you said, from the smoking aspect, it's kind of irrelevant, which is unfortunate because a lot of kids get hooked on that stuff at a real early age. And it's no real, as of right now, it's no real way of combating that and kind of, eliminating any factors of how they get those kind of things. Is, it's kind of passed on from friend to friend who they got it from their older sibling or you know, older person or whatever. So I think we have to find a way to kind of do the same thing when it comes to nicotine and all the other things that kids can get hooked on at this young age that can kind of derail them further along in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the approach that's being taken to this kind of shows a misunderstanding of the way that people in our generation and even younger are buying and using these addictive substances. I mean, I think places that hold liquor licenses, I don't know how much they're doing in terms of selling like vapes, THC products, anything like that, compared to, like you said, these smoke shops that you can find on every corner here in the city. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like any parent could tell you that saying you're not allowed to have this is not the way to get people to stop having it. I mean, we're on college campuses. If you say, hey, no underage drinking, that's not necessarily going to stop some people.
No.
It's more a matter of making sure that people are safe and that they're not, for example, for THC, consuming products that are laced that are going to have that really detrimental health impact that could be fatal.
Yeah, the regulations and making sure that you're getting high quality products if you are buying from a smoke shop or a vape shop, whatever it may be, that is so important. And that could be the more common sense regulations that could help save lives and just make a greater impact as opposed to just putting this emergency law and getting a headline that, I don't know. Again, as you mentioned, how many liquor places are selling THC, right? So it looks great on a headline, but let's get more regulation. I'm all for regulation, but don't take it all out completely.
Yeah.
So this new law is officially underway, but officials won't be enforcing this until October 1st, and that is when you could lose your TABC license. So that is the latest update. Okay, when we get back, let's end with our moments of joy. This show is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or sending euros to tip your Coliseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. That's what makes Wise the fast, affordable way to use your money around the globe. Wise also offers 24/7 live support, and they run over 7 million daily checks to catch and prevent fraud, so you know your money is where it's supposed to be. Be smart. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Terms and conditions apply. Fall in love with downtown Houston this season. Grab your blanket and your bingo card for Blanket Bingo, one of the city's favorite fall traditions. Or cozy up under the stars for outdoor movie nights featuring everything from Wicked to Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my personal favorites. Need to shake off those pumpkin spice lattes? Downtown Houston has free fitness in the park, yoga, hip-hop dance, and breathwork at Trudley and Market Square Park to keep you moving. And yes, even your four-legged friends get their own Yappy Hour Paw Tea. And mark your calendar, Dia de los Muertos takes over downtown with live music, art, kids activities, and a glowing community ofrenda. Plus a family screening of Coco that will give you all the feels. The weather is nice, so it's time to make this season unforgettable. Plan your downtown adventure with your friends and family at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived. We made it to the end of Education Week, and I am ready to celebrate. So let's get our moments of joy. Sarah, kick it off.
Yeah, we have had a great week here at Rice, honestly, in terms of Rice athletics, surprisingly. This is a rare occurrence for us, but we are doing very well. We have a winning record in football. Our women's soccer team just did incredibly over the weekend. They're ranked in the nation for the first time since 2021, which
Nice.
is amazing. Even college football Twitter is talking about our athletics logos. At Rice, we have this policy that I think a lot of people didn't know about, where you're not allowed to mix our athletic logos and our academic logos.
Oh.
I have no idea why, but people have been talking about that a lot recently, and it's very funny to see people that are normally posting about, Bama or A&M or these big athletic schools talking about the Rice Owls, which has been very funny. And we also have some new writers. It's the beginning of the semester, so we have some new writers who are working for the sports section and are doing an amazing job.
That's cool.
As editor-in-chief, that's so exciting for me, and I'm excited to watch them grow and watch them write. We had a new writer on our front page this week, and so that was so exciting for me.
That's awesome. That's a great moment of joy. And yeah, to see Rice football putting up some wins and head coach Scott Abel doing his thing. Anytime Rice wins, I love it because then the Rice Marching Owl Band, the Mob, they get crazy. And if you've never seen the Mob, it is so much fun. That was one of our favorite things. I went to the University of Texas and we would always play Rice at Austin and the Mob would come and we would look forward to the Mob. That was it because they are a trip. They are the funniest marching band. They have fun, the songs that they play, how engaging they are. So I'd love to see Rice Athletics win. Just not against Texas, okay? Ever. So.
Don't worry, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
How about you, David? What was your moment of joy?
Yeah, my moment of joy is back on TSU's campus. So our School of Communications recently held an election for Mr. School of Communications, which is basically giving the power to one of the students to kind of correlate what we have called Com Week, which is basically a week where we have, conferences and a banquet and, we have different events and a job fair with, communication professionals coming in their organizations for students to mingle with. And, Mr. Communications has been given the duty to kind of regulate and bring people in as well. Our winner, Jerry Ledoux, who is a senior here, he recently just had an internship at Fox 26. And so the connections that he made there, he's able to now bring in some of those people to our campus to get involved with and possibly create opportunities for us.
That is so cool. Whenever Comms Week is, you let me know. I would love to be a speaker. I've spoken at TSU's campus many, many times, and I love visiting. It's so much fun. The energy is second to none. Same thing at Rice. I love visiting. The college energy is something that me as an older person now, all right, I'm older compared to y'all, I need every once in a while. So shout out to y'all. And that's awesome. Mr. Communications. That's a title right there, my friend. That is cool. David, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That was Sarah Knowlton. You can read her work in the Rice Thresher and David Hill. You can see his reporting on KTSU. If you missed any episodes from Education Week, be sure to go back and listen to them over the weekend and share your favorite episode with 3 friends. Thanks. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producer is Carleon Jones. Our newsletter editor is Brooke Lewis. Our interim executive producer is Lizzie Goldsmith. I'm your host, Rahil Ramzanali, and a special shout out to our producers for Education Week, Selena C.A. Reynolds and Shomail Ahmed. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos, with additional music courtesy of Hip Color, Grip City Cronies, and Isola James from EpidemicSound.com, plus 8 Main and Steve Curry from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. We'll be back on Monday with a Texas size showdown. Which city is better, H-Town or Austin? And I think you're 3, 2, 1. And I think your fellow 3, 2, 1. And your fellow student.